welcome back to Atypical Talk. This is a podcast where we have conversations that illuminate the intersection of faith, culture, and the common spaces of our humanity. I'm Abby.
I'm Allison.
And I'm Joel.
And this episode's coming out in March, which is the first month of spring. I am so excited for spring weather.
I know, the sun's shining today, even though it's February.
Yes, we are getting a small taste of it, and I'm really excited. But what are you most looking forward to about spring?
So many things. Baseball season, which I adore. Walking my dog outside.
Wait, baseball season? Like you watch baseball all the time? Like all day? Like, because there's a game on every day. You watch it all the time? Like on TV?
Mm-hmm, yep.
Wow.
And going to
Those games are long too. That's crazy.
They are. But have you ever had helmet nachos? Let me just tell you, it's a whole nother change your life. But walking my dog outside without freezing to death, and being able to wear sandals without, people judging you because it's February and it's actually cold, but I don't care. I don't like socks. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to not wearing socks.
Without judgment,
Yeah.
What about you, Abby?
So my husband rides a motorcycle, and I'm looking forward to those.
That means that you get to ride the motorcycle too, right?
I'd sit on the back.
You ride. You don't drive.
Yeah. Yeah. So I enjoy motorcycle rides, especially if we're going to get ice cream. I'm a little disappointed if we go on a ride and then we start pulling into our driveway. I'm like, we didn't stop for ice cream. Why are we home already?
The trip is not complete.
No.
Without that.
Yeah.
Or shaved ice, right?
That's what I was just thinking too.
That's your jam.
I have no idea when.
If there's a place called Moustache in Kokomo,
yes.
On the north side of town, and people around the church went goo goo gaga over it.
That might be an understatement, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. Okay, Joel, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, with you, ice cream is a part of it because, like, as the weather gets nicer, all of the local ice cream places open up, and another thing to that is just walking around our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is like a real walkable place, and as the weather gets nice and we can go with our kids, and Jack riding whatever, it's his mower, it's his tractor, it's his bike, his tricycle, whatever it might be, going around. And now Thomas is going to be 2 in a couple weeks, and so he's getting into that more dangerous, fun stuff. So like going on walks and then going to an ice cream place like Scoops. Sounds really, really fun. But also, as the weather gets nicer, I start thinking about live music and outside concerts, because I love going to concerts, as many of you guys know. So I'm like making my spring and summer tour list of the concerts I'm going to go to and be outside, massive crowds of people singing and being ridiculous. That sounds fun for me.
Have you already purchased? What's your first concert coming
up? I'm seeing The Killers in May. I'm seeing Dave Matthews Band in May. And I have in April, I think Megan and I are going to go see Wilco. So we've got some spring tour things coming up. April and May. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so our first article today is a Washington Post article titled "Separated by War: A Ukrainian Family Balances Safety, Duty, and Love." This article follows Andriy and Olha, a Ukrainian couple that have been apart for over a year because of the war. When they said goodbye, they both assumed that they'd be together again shortly, but the war continues on to this day. Andriy has been performing some of the Ukrainian military's riskiest reconnaissance work on the front lines of eastern Ukraine. His wife Olha has taken refuge in Germany with their daughter Sasha. He texts her a heart emoji every morning to let her know he's still alive, and that heart determines her mood for the day. Their story is similar to many other Ukrainian couples who have been separated due to the war. Olha tries to stay strong for her daughter and to continue supporting Andriy through everything. She noticed Andriy's absence in all the small daily tasks that used to be his, making the coffee, driving Sasha to school, hauling in the heavy family packs of bottled water. She also felt rage about Russia, about the war, about what she saw as a forced separation stemming from the invasion. Sometimes she felt such anger that it veered towards hatred. This story was so touching and so heartbreaking to hear, we don't hear about the war anymore, since it started, and we had so many news articles about it, and we haven't heard anything since then. So what about this story stuck out to you guys?
Yeah, I think it's easy for us as Americans to sometimes forget that these wars are still raging on because they aren't our entire world. You know, they aren't our every single day like they are for them. And, you know, so it becomes kind of this out of sight, out of mind thing. But every story like this one or article that I read, it literally breaks my heart because I cannot imagine life like this. We forget, you know, sometimes how incredibly privileged we are even on our worst days or the days that we think, you know, absolutely stink. Like, nobody has forced me to leave my country or learn a new language or get a different job or start a new school or make new friends or learn an entire different way of life. Like, that is just not, that has just never been a thing in all of my existence. So yeah, it's super discouraging that it's still going on. And it's gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you touched on something that connected with me, is just the idea that it's so easy to get wrapped up in our world and things we see around us, but this is a great reminder for each and every one of us that our world is not the world.
No.
And we are just a small slither of the pie of the big thing that's going on. And we lose so much perspective in that. You know, I kept thinking about all the things that I complain about or get mad about, the dumb inconveniences, like our water heater breaking this weekend. And I'm like, it like ruined our weekend, right?
Cold showers.
And I'm just like, oh, okay, to have some perspective inside of this and the things that we complain about, like in this great big world, there are real tragedies, not just inconveniences that we so often get. I mean, we just passed the 1 year anniversary of this war starting. And like Abby mentioned, it seems like, you know, we just lose sight that it's still going on and it's not front page of our news and what we're getting every day anymore, which I think speaks to just our attention deficit that we have for things, you know, I mean, because there was a huge outrage. There was a huge call for supporting our Ukrainian brothers and sisters and many of the Russians that were against the war near the very beginning of this. And we just get so distracted and we get like on to the next thing and we get outraged about this thing. And then 10 minutes later, we forget that it's even going on. And I couldn't believe it's been a year already that this has been going on. And so it helps me gain some perspective, and just bend my heart towards these people whose lives have completely been upended. And it also it's a call for me to consider, like, you know, what can we do? What can I do to, like, you know, help bring an end to this conflict that's, you know, taken so many lives and just upended so many people in their world. And, you know, not like we have a lot to do outside of pray for there to be an end of the conflict, pray for there to be restoration in this brokenness, and that there would be retreat and there would be able to go home and rebuild, and it wouldn't even breathe more division and hatred between Ukrainian people and Russian people, which I'm sure there's going to be that seed there, right? But hopefully that there can be restoration throughout all of that, and there can be justice in this situation. But I mean, it's just a call for me to continue to think about and pray for an end to this war that's going on over a year now. And this story brings a human face to it. This isn't just people making decisions at a war table. This is families being ripped apart. And it's broken, and we need God to bring it into it and be a part of that.
Yeah. It just breaks my heart hearing how Olha, her mood depends on whether or not she gets that heart emoji first thing in the morning.
Well, and she said there was like a 3 week stretch where she didn't hear anything. Yeah. And you just think, like,
for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Is he gone?
Yeah. I mean, the trauma that comes from this in like all sorts of different ways, whether you're fighting, whether you're, you know, leaving your home country, like, yeah, just the trauma that comes from this literally going to change people's lives. Yeah.
It's terrifying. And so, like Joel said, we continue to pray for them, and it's just shocking that it's been going on for a year, and this couple and so many other couples and families have been separated for a year because of all of this.
Yep.
So our second topic today is a USA Today article by Kathleen Wong. If I can do this, I can do anything. How this Tahoe nonprofit empowers travelers with disabilities. Palisades Tahoe is a ski slope in Olympic Valley, California. At Palisades Tahoe, there's a nonprofit organization called Achieve Tahoe that works with people with mental and physical disabilities and helps them ski with adaptive ski gear. Although the nonprofit's specialty is skiing, it's expanded to also include summer activities like kayaking, horseback riding, hiking, archery, and water skiing. As long as you can breathe independently, you can come ski, Marina Gardner, Guest Services Director at Achieve Tahoe, says. At the heart of Achieve Tahoe's mission is to give people with disabilities the opportunity to feel empowered and challenged through a sport that helps build their confidence and a healthy lifestyle. Our motto is, if I can do this, I can do anything, Gardner says. The more you can do for yourself, the more rewarding it is for that participant. I just love hearing stories like this. I know we talk a lot about, stories where, we talked about the signing Starbucks a couple weeks ago.
For deaf friends.
Taking extra steps to make someone with a disability feel welcomed. And so this is another great story, I think, of that example.
Yeah. Now, anytime that, somebody or an organization or an event even is advocating for inclusion, like, that's a win for humanity. It's not just for the individual that they're able to support with this adaptive equipment. Like, this is a win for everybody, because we should be pulling for everybody to have an equal playing field. And so when you're able to provide somebody this like sense of accomplishment, self-sufficiency, like the self-esteem, everything like increases and goes up. So I love it so much. Again, kind of like with the last article, like you're literally changing someone's life. Like this, just this one act, whether, like in the last article, it was negative necessarily. In this one, it's positive, but like one single thing can change somebody's life. So it's not just the physical benefits either of like the fresh air and being outside, and some of, some of these people being able to control their own skis or sleds, but like just being a part of like a social activity with their friends or their family, like that's emotional health as well and well-being. So I love this. Again, I'm a big proponent. So
yeah. The article talked about this kid who was on a school trip, and he had his leg amputated and was able to go skiing with everyone else because they had that adaptive ski gear and stuff. And I thought
amazing.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Because, kids with disabilities, they don't get to join in on activities like that.
Yeah.
And so
normally he'd be sitting on the sidelines just watching everybody else have fun while he sits in the cold. But it's amazing.
I think I love what's described inside of their mission is to give people with disabilities the opportunity to feel empowered and challenged through a sport that helps build confidence and a healthy lifestyle. And I think it's really interesting, like it's not only empowered in the sense of, oh, look what I can do, but there's something that happens inside of a challenge, something that happens inside of this is a little out of my comfort zone that actually helps us grow and develop into the best version of ourselves. And we all experience that when we step out of our comfort zones to do something that's a little challenging. I always think that's like the most pivotal moment in so many of our lives is when we step out of our comfort zone, do something, and we don't die. And we're actually, hey, that wasn't the worst. I don't suck at this. Yeah. That's a really pivotal moment. And to see that like this is actually giving our friends with disabilities this opportunity to have a challenge and then to overcome a challenge. Yeah. When you think about challenge for somebody who has a disability, to them it's always it's a stop sign. This is too much of a challenge. You can't do this. You can't do this. And I'm just really struck by this reality that it's giving them an opportunity to overcome challenge. And through that, you build confidence and self-esteem and health. And that's a beautiful thing that we can offer people, is to give them a challenge, an opportunity to overcome, because even though we often don't like it in the moment, those are some of the biggest moments in our lives to do that. And I always love when we can talk about these just non-normative life experiences, something that is not everybody, it's a small percentage of our population, but considering life through their eyes and through their lives and through their unique challenges, I think it builds something in us, right? It builds empathy. It builds like this new shelf or category in our brain to be thinking about, oh, these are real people. This is not just something I saw in a movie once. These are real people. And I'm always challenged by that, because I think the mark of our society, the mark of any of our communities, of our greatness, is not in what we accomplish and how big and bad we are, but it's in where we treat everybody, and especially those on the underbelly of our society, people that have unique challenges.
So our next question is, if you could be amazing at any skill without practicing, what would it be and why?
You're
gonna make me start?
I'm like, I don't really know. I came up with
I
them,
would
but
love to be able to like cook what I wanted to eat. Like, I feel like I'm really
and have
good.
it be good.
And have it be good. That's the thing. Like, because I feel like I know what tastes really good. I'm
Yeah.
pretty good at that. If you look at me, you know. But I know it tastes good, and I enjoy eating. But I would love to be able to be like, oh, hey, I'd like to have this tonight, and I could just make it happen.
Yeah.
Without, because like I just get like all anxious when like working with new ingredients, and what does it mean to fold in the eggs? I don't know. Like, you know, like what does that practice look like? And then it's like a 2-hour YouTube tutorial, and then my kids are starving and they end up eating, you know, peanut butter and jelly instead, right? And so I would love to be able to like just make it happen. Oh, I'm gonna make lobster ravioli tonight, and boom, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And I don't have to go to courses for like 6 months and, you know, train under a French chef to make it happen.
And you don't have to have like Pizza King or something on speed dial in
Yes,
case it fails.
in case it fails, as it often might do. So that would be mine. I would love to be able to just like be an incredible cook and chef and make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I when I was thinking about this, I would love to learn all of the languages. Now I know that's absurd, and there's no possible way, you know, that you could possibly learn them all. But like, I would love to be able to. I love to travel, so I want to go lots of places. But I also want to be able to speak with people in their native language.
Yeah.
I don't want them to have to try to figure out what I'm trying to say. I don't want to have to use hand gestures or point to things. Like, I would love to be able to just fluently have conversational speech with people with all sorts of languages. So
Yeah, that would be
You just
awesome.
want a Tower of Babel moment so we can understand everybody. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, mine isn't as touching as either of yours. Mine,
Touching. I wanted to make ravioli.
but you could make food for people
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
true. For people,
Yeah. See, mine is just I want to be able to roller skate. I think that would be awesome. Like
We could make that happen in 2023. Like, we could have this be your bucket list.
Oh, that's cool.
I love watching videos of people roller skating and doing tricks and stuff as they're going down the street, and I think that would be so much fun. But I have this like terrible fear of falling and hurting myself.
You will fall.
Yeah.
And you'll probably like scrape up a little bit, but you'll be okay.
Yeah, because I tried to teach myself how to skateboard when I was younger, and I fell and hurt my ankle pretty bad. I mean, I didn't break it or anything, but it bled everywhere. And
that's enough to not get back on the skateboard, right?
And I have not been on the skateboard since. And so I had this like fear of, hurting myself and having to clean up a mess and everything afterwards. But
oh man,
maybe one of our things for the podcast this year is we all have to try something,
Yeah.
Lobster
scary
ravioli.
and difficult.
You have to do Rosetta Stone. All of them.
Listen, I said
Yours is the
I could
hardest one.
learn all of
I will say hers is the hardest one.
Yeah,
Listen, the question said if I could be amazing without practicing.
Yeah. To
That's what I
just
want.
snap your fingers and suddenly you know all
Yes.
languages. Yeah,
I'm here
that
for
would be
it.
awesome. So our final topic is a Los Angeles Times article by Salvador Hernandez. Saddleback Church ordained women, so the Southern Baptist Convention gave it the boot. Saddleback Church in Lake Forest, California was a part of the Southern Baptist Convention and was recently kicked out due to ordaining 3 women pastors. They were one of 5 churches who were removed because of women serving as pastors and were the second largest congregation in the convention. In 2000, the Southern Baptist Convention added the ban on female pastors to its faith and message doctrine. Jared Wellman, chairman of the convention's executive committee, said in a statement, "These churches have been valued cooperating churches for many years, and this decision was not made lightly. However, we remain committed to upholding the theological convictions of the SBC and maintain unity among its cooperating churches." So this is a difficult article to hear. But one thing that I kind of was thinking about while reading it was how the Saddleback Church continued to fight for their position in the Southern Baptist Convention, even though it was clear that their values didn't align. Why do you think they continued to fight for that position if they knew that the Southern Baptist Convention wouldn't change their mind?
I think my take on this is that they are the second largest congregation in the whole SBC, whole denomination. So I imagine that they were fighting to stay in because they think that they can bring change, and they think that, hey, we have enough sway, we have enough bucks, and we have enough people that maybe they would reconsider their interpretation of Scripture in light of that. And so I imagine that that's what they're trying to do, to be like, hey, can we revisit this instead of like having this messy divorce? Because I think that you can look at this and see it differently and read these Bible verses differently. So that would be my take, is that they thought that they were big enough. They're not like this small church of 50 people saying, hey, we're going to change the whole Southern Baptist Convention. But they're big enough that they thought, hey, maybe we would hold some sway and we'd be able to have some dialogue about keeping the family together and moving the position into a different place. That'd be my take.
Yeah, and I think for them, it's less about being a part. I don't know. Again, speaking out of pocket because I really don't know. But, for them, it's not so much being a part of an organization because you need the funds or there's like some sort of, status or whatever that comes with being a part of it. Like the other like rural churches that also got disfellowshipped or whatever term they used, but
the boot, the technical theological term.
Because for those rural churches, like that probably was impactful. They probably did need those resources, and
and the Southern Baptist Convention, they give a lot to church planning and to smaller churches to help them grow, and so there are a lot of churches that probably were like, gulp, we have to just swallow this or we close. And there's a lot of politics involved with it, and real dollars affect real ministry so often. So I imagine that they didn't have that.
Right.
Yeah,
but
others
so
do.
Also super proud of those other churches though too, who knowing that they could lose their funding and their resources, like still stuck to the values that they believed and
they'll pay for it and then trust God with the
that.
consequences, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a really faithful thing to do, is that they will take a hit, but they're going to trust God with the consequences and with their convictions to tell a different story. So, I mean, it's pretty inspiring, I think. I mean, again, all this being said, here at Bridgeway, at least, we are an egalitarian church theologically, meaning that we believe that men and women are gifted and can do everything the same. Women can do what men can do, and vice versa. And so from our perspective of what we try to practice in the kind of community we're kind of trying to build, what Saddleback has done is inspiring. And man, I pray that it does lead people to have a different conversation or another look at how we treat 51% of the human population and what we believe that they can do. Sorry, just a little snarky on that. But yeah, so I think it is inspiring, and way to go leaders there. And at these smaller rural churches that you don't know their names and you don't know their founding lead pastor, didn't write the second most popular book of all time. Way to go inside of that, and praying that God would bless you and lead a new way forward for many of these churches. And not to throw shade at our brothers and sisters who are in more complementarian churches, believing that men have certain roles and women have certain roles and they're not supposed to mix and match. I thoroughly believe that I will spend all of eternity with you, and I'll take communion with you any day, and we all believe in the resurrected Jesus, and that's all good, and we just have a disagreement on this one thing. But there are many of us that think that this is a really important thing, and there's a world that's watching how we treat our sisters and how we invite them to the table, or how we invite them just to get lunch for the people at the table. And I'm praying that this would be something that moves the needle, and that people would revisit some of these passages that can be challenging, to see a different way of understanding them and seeing how God has gifted both men and women to lead the way. And we need men and women to lead the way in every kind of room to make the biggest impact that we possibly can have. And hey, can we just also just theologically agree that when Jesus was resurrected, he sent the women as the first messengers of the resurrection.
Because we don't want to talk about
so to be
men were.
really biblical, I'm just going to say, to be uber biblical, on Easter Sunday we should have women preaching the Easter sermon. So Allison, you're up. We're just going to be biblical. We're just going to be biblical. Let's make it happen.
And these kind of like theological showdowns, or whatever you want to call them, like aren't necessarily unusual. Like these things have been happening over slavery, civil rights movements. Right now, like the United Methodist Church is having, their own over LGBTQ plus inclusion. And so, these sorts of things have been happening for all of time. But I just hope, selfishly in a way, but like, further down the line that we get, 20 years from now, we look back and we're like, oh man, this was such a big deal, but it's just a commonplace thing that we have, and this understanding now that like my kids won't necessarily be like, oh, it's super unusual to have this woman up here on a Sunday morning. It will just be a commonplace thing where they find themselves and can see themselves doing something that maybe they never thought they could do before. So
amen. Let it be so. That's awesome.
Well, that is it for this episode. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to talk about, email those to atypicaltalkpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at atypicaltalkpod. You can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We hope that these conversations today have helped you think wider, love deeper, and partner with God to bring the up there down here in your everyday life. Thanks for listening.